Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mark 1 Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land, over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Photon bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley, this is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start. Hello and welcome to the Docking Bay 77 podcast. I am your Powerslave, Dayton Johnson. Regular listeners of the podcast know that we are fans of Iron Maiden. I consider them the best heavy metal band of all time. We've already reviewed Senjutsu, The Number of the Beast, and The Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. I even dropped a YouTube video of my top 7 Iron Maiden album covers. All that being said, it's time to discuss another of their albums, possibly their greatest. Joining me this evening, you hear a sample of his music in our opening. Musician, photographer, and wearer of ball caps. It is Eric Brock. How's it going, Eric?
I'm as fresh as new Coke. But I've got a little problem with you including Fear the Dark in your album covers because that's a horrible album cover.
Oh, I disagree. I think it's awesome. And if you agree with Eric, go check out that YouTube video and comment all you want to tell me how wrong I am. I'm used to it. And he's one of our regular hosts, a Van Halen super fan, and apparently he's healthy for you. It is Tim Brown. How's it going, Tim?
If Eric is new Coke, does that make me Crystal Pepsi?
That's cool. I can be I'll be RC Cola, because that's I just drink that crap all the time.
You're more like Jolt.
I can accept that.
Nice.
All right. This evening we are discussing from 1984 Iron Maiden's Powerslave. All right, let's hit some opening thoughts on this particular album. So, Eric, history with the album?
I guess this is the best Maiden album at the end of the day. It's one of those rare albums that doesn't really have any weaknesses. Solid, front to back. So even though I'm a big fan of the 2 previous albums, this album was kind of when I started to think, Iron Maiden is kind of one of my favorite bands. And that kind of snuck up on me a little bit. But this one right into Live After Death, which very well might be the best live album of all time. And then Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son, all one right after another each. That's a damn good run of albums.
Yeah, it is.
This was also the album that kind of solidified Nico as one of my favorite drummers. Like any great musician, Nico as soon as you hear him.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's something you can say as often about drummers as you can maybe like a guitar player or a singer. And my last thought on this was, and it might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think this is Bruce's best work with Maiden.
You know what? I wouldn't argue against that. He definitely there's one of my favorite screams is on here. So and it's on my favorite track. But yeah, no, this is and we'll get to that. All right, Tim, opening thoughts on the album.
Back when these albums were new, I was not really on the Maiden bandwagon. I was always more of a Van Halen and a Rush kind of guy, and Maiden was more of something that those guys over there did, and I wasn't really into it at the time, but I do remember really liking Seventh Son. This one kind of came into my realm of knowledge much later, but yeah, it's a strong one.
All right. So in my teen years, this was definitely on heavy rotation, along with The Number of the Beast and the live album Live After Death, which followed this one. It is not my favorite, but it's close, and I will agree with Eric that it's probably their best album. It definitely hits a peak for the band. There's so much good on this album; it's almost a crime. Production, track listing, songwriting, creativity, setting a mood, level of talent. It's a peak performance for sure. They have done good albums since, but this is a masterpiece, and it's just crazy. I will admit that during the part of the 90s into the 2000s, they did fall off my radar as a band. I knew of them, obviously. I still listen to the older stuff, but they weren't in my heavy rotation. But in recent years, I've been making up for that and acquiring CDs and vinyl copies of their albums I didn't own to try and complete their discography. I only have a couple more of the 2000s CDs, like Dance of the Dead and the ones with Blaze Bailey, which I'll see if I add those to my collection or not. We'll find out. But as I said before, I consider them the greatest heavy metal band of all time. Many different reasons: their longevity, the talent in the band, quality of music, the influence on the genre itself. They're all great reasons, but part of it also, according to almost everyone who's ever met the guys in the band or toured with them, they're decent human beings as well. Everything from raising money for the former drummer Clive Burr to Paul Di'Anno when they all got sick, to just any stories you hear about them. And I'm currently re-listening to Bruce's autobiography, What Does This Button Do?, which, by the way, is awesome and hilarious. Second time through. So a lot of fun. You hear some great stories there. You get some great stories from Scott Ian on his I'm the Man, book. So you hear these great things about him. So I'm super excited also because Bruce is actually coming to Cincinnati in September. He's going to be at Horror Hound, and I already have my pass. And aside from his book, which I have a copy of, I just need to decide, should I have him sign my copy of Powerslave or Number of the Beast? You guys can chime in, and our listeners can let us know.
That's a tough call.
It is a tough call.
You got to pick one, man.
I feel like the Powerslave album, the coloring would lend itself better to an autograph.
True.
Yeah.
True. And I have two vinyl copies of that, so I can have him sign one and have and frame that one and play the other one. So there you go.
There you go. I think that's your choice right there.
All right. Sounds good.
That is the move.
I guess I'll just take my Number of the Beast jacket with me and have him sign the sleeves of that. So there we go.
You mentioned something just a second ago, Dayton, that kind of made me think, not necessarily about Maiden, but kind of a side topic. There was like a 15, 20-year period, and maybe it's just me, but I feel like a lot of us Gen X, 80s metalhead kind of fans really lost touch with a lot of the bands that we were really big fans of from about the late 90s kind of on through the 2000s and into the 2010s before it seems like we kind of picked up on them again. And there was a whole period for a lot of bands where they were still out there doing stuff. And it seems like I especially was just completely unaware that was going on.
Yeah.
And then like years later, I was like, oh yeah, those guys are still around. They released 4 albums?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it helps that my brother-in-law is much younger than me, and he was still listening to a lot of the new Maiden at the time, so I didn't completely fall out. But yeah, there was, I was kind of still keeping up with Anthrax. I was still keeping up with Metallica because they were still everywhere. But yeah, you're right. There was a lot of bands. I mean, I lost touch with like Testament, and even for a while, I lost kind of touch with Rush. So it was a weird.
Whoa.
I mean,
watch it.
I know, right? But even still, yeah, it seems to be that we all kind of thought
King's
that metal
X?
was. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all kind of felt like metal was over for a little while, and it turns out we just. We kind of switched gears for a little while. So
I wonder if it isn't a combination of we kind of lost touch, and a lot of those older bands hadn't really picked up on how to use social media yet.
But that's probably
So
true.
yeah, they're kind of still out there, but they didn't really know how to get in touch with us anymore.
For me, it was more of, I mean, I'm a metalhead and definitely hair metal, as you guys know, but my second favorite is kind of like that, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s kind of alternative rock,
Right.
kind of pop punk even.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
You know, Tonic in bands like that, Days of
Right.
the New, maybe. I'm just trying to think of weird bands from that era that are gone completely now. And a lot of that stuff I dig. So I was listening to more of that stuff while at the same time still listening to like Maiden stuff like that, but maybe not quite as in depth as I used to or I do now.
I was
Yeah,
picking
yeah.
up a lot more newer stuff. Like I started listening to Coheed and Cambria. I was listening to like they were there was a Drowning Pool. A lot of the early 2000s new metal and stuff like that. Things were popping up. I was listening to that because it was on the radio that I was listening to. It was on the rock station, so I was exposed to that while I was like trying new things out. But yeah, you know, I think it's kind of funny that we all kind of had the same experience. And
Look, I just thought of something that I want to bring up so I don't forget later. Sorry to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
I need to mention Rainbow's Gold, which was I think it was the B-side to 2 Minutes to Midnight, the single. Do you know the song?
I believe so. Let me check. Hang on. Go ahead.
It's actually a cover tune.
Yes.
It's a killer song. And I actually looked up the original, you know, the original version from, I think it's 1974.
Yeah, the band's called Beckett.
Yeah, Beckett. It's pretty cool too. But I didn't want that to be lost on any of our listeners that maybe not, you know, might not know that song, because it's a really cool song too.
Well, now I got some homework. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to some facts about the album. Powerslave was released September 3rd, 1984. We're actually coming up on its 41st anniversary. Good, 41 years. Holy crap. On EMI, we are old. We are old.
That hurt.
That does hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and then you still watch videos and Harris and Dickinson are still moving around way better than I do. That's just not
Oh,
good.
yeah.
And of course, it was released on EMI label. Recorded February through June of the same year at Compass Point in Nassau, Bahamas. Produced by the late Martin Birch, who produced their albums Killers all the way up through Fear of the Dark when he retired after that album. He passed away August 9th, 2020. Most of the songwriting for this album was done at Le Chalet Hotel in Jersey, UK. This is also where they wrote most of Peace of Mind. Sadly, the hotel no longer exists. I know that because it's in Bruce's book. This was the first time the band's lineup stayed consistent on back-to-back albums. So, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner was the longest song from the band for over 30 years until Empire of the Clouds on the Book of Souls album. The album debuted at number 2 on the UK album charts and eventually reached number 21 on the Billboard 200 in the US. Singles include 2 Minutes to Midnight, released August 6, 1984. It hit number 11 on the UK singles chart and number 25 on the Billboard Top Album Tracks. And Aces High was released October 22nd. It hit number 20 on the UK singles chart. Since its release, it has sold over 9 million copies. In 2017, Rolling Stone ranked it number 38 on the 100 greatest metal albums of all time. This is a fun fact. The song Flash of the Blade appears on the soundtrack to Dario Argento's film Phenomena. And Avenged Sevenfold covered it for their double live album in 2008. All right, we're going to move on to one of our favorite bits, is where we try to throw out guesses of what everybody else's favorite track is going to be. So, and once we get to those tracks, we'll just say, hey, this is our favorite, and see who got them right. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get them all mine wrong because I'm really good at doing that. But my guesses are, for Eric, I'm guessing Aces High, and for Tim, I'm guessing 2 Minutes to Midnight. Eric, what are your guesses?
For Tim, I also guessed 2 Minutes to Midnight, and for you, I guessed Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
All right, Tim, your guesses?
Well, I can tell you right now that my favorite track I actually was not able to decide between two of them. So if either of you, if either of them come up, when those come up, I'll tell you this was one of the two that were mine. So
All right.
I'll let you go there. For Eric, I'm going 2 Minutes to Midnight. And for Dayton, I'm going Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I'm with Eric on that one. I feel like you and I had that conversation a long time ago, and maybe I'm just misremembering history, but I feel like we've had that conversation. So
I just look at the length of the song and go, that's it.
Typically that's pretty accurate, but I guess we'll find out.
You're not wrong.
No, you're not completely wrong. No. All right, cool. So, first track on the album, Aces High, written by Steve Harris. All right, Eric, why don't you start us off?
Well, how about this as an album opener, boys?
Right.
Yes.
A fantastic opener. I think every member of the band is killing it on this song. The more I think about this next note that I put down, the more I think maybe I'm just crazy. But the guitars in the verse, I think, kind of very subtly mimic an air raid siren. The way they kind of rise in pitch and then go down in pitch a little bit. And surely that was an accident. I don't think they did that on purpose. But
I don't know. It sounds like
it's
it's
Bruce
cool.
Dickinson's nickname.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
sure that was entirely unintentional.
And,
right.
On a personal note, I did a relatively obvious ripoff of Aces High on one of my original songs that I did called Bold or the Brave. It's actually one of the few original tracks that I've done that has lyrics. So if anybody ever wanted to listen to that, you can tell me if you think it sounds a little bit like Iron Maiden, and especially see the influence of Aces High. So I think one of the lyrics even says Aces on High. So
all right.
It's subtle. It's so subtle. Not sure anybody's going to make the connection, but
right. And can we find that on Bandcamp?
Yeah, it's actually the album or the EP is called Something to Hold On To, and it's I think, what am I up to now, like 77 or 78 or something like that. I think it's probably in the high teens or low 20s, so you'd have to scroll down.
Well, it was a while ago. Got it. All right.
If it'll help anybody, the album or I keep calling it out, the EP cover is a picture that I shot from on top of the hell's the tower downtown that used to be able to go up into?
Carew
Tower. Yeah. I did like a wide angle shot from up top of that, so that might help you locate that EP.
Nice. All right. Tim, anything to add for Aces High?
Listening to the very intro of this, I was struck by a thought. Yes, it hurt. It was very painful having a thought. I was noticing a lot of times, like with progressive bands, especially like your Dream Theaters and your Symphony X and these guys, when there's a tempo change or a time signature change, it's very pointed, it's very deliberate, it's very intentional. And there's this tempo change that Iron Maiden does that really feels like very lackadaisical, almost like they were kind of in the middle of a jam and just said, let's do something different. And to me, it's very punk rock feeling. It doesn't feel metal to me. It feels like a punk band. And I wonder if there isn't some influence in that coming through in Maiden, because I hear that in other places too, where it's just kind of this, like they're just jamming along and somebody has a different idea and everybody kind of takes a second or two or a beat or a couple of measures and okay, now we're together over here. It's not deliberate, it's not planned, it doesn't sound like it was perfectly mapped out on a staff paper. And I like it. I like that feeling of just that kind of rawness.
All right, interesting. So yeah, the opening and closing dual melodic riff is just absolutely awesome. The tempo and the pace of the song makes you feel like that 4 minutes and 31 seconds are over way too fast. It's just once it kicks in, it moves and it does not let go, and it's a fantastic opening track.
Oh, I forgot to add one thing.
What's that?
This is one of my two.
All right.
Yeah, this would be one of my two probably too.
All right.
It's
So,
not
but
my favorite.
oh, damn, I got one wrong. I knew that was going to happen. All right. Let's move on to track number 2. It is 2 Minutes to Midnight, written by Smith and Dickinson. Tim, why don't you start us off?
You know, if you had asked me which my favorite track was like 5 years ago, I probably would have said this one. But the other two that I was torn between have edged it out. So no, this is not one of my favorites.
So I got both of my friggin' guesses wrong already. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, and
That's
Eric
not
got
right.
it wrong too. I think you picked that for me also. Yeah.
That's
so
fine.
You guys were okay with the previous version of me. But I mean, this is still a great track. I mean, I know it's easy to pick the singles as, oh, those are the great Maiden tracks, the ones that got released. But this is really a good song. It's really got a great groove to it. I mean, the guitars and Chef's Kiss. What else can you say about that?
Right. I love that the riff was actually originally written by Dickinson. He was messing around with the guitar, came up with something, and then he showed it to Adrian, and Adrian said, I can make that better. And of course he did, because it's Adrian Smith. So,
Right.
Eric, anything to add?
So you got to follow up Aces High, huh? So it's like,
You're
well,
right.
we'll just have to write a better song. This is my favorite song on the album, but it's a narrow margin. Because I think all the tracks are great, but the main riff is really greasy and it's just really, really cool. And the guitar solo section is phenomenal.
It's very, it actually has a bit of a groove to it. I kind of love it, nice, very nice. Love the lyrics too.
Yep.
So, it's funny. I actually had 2 Minutes to Midnight as Eric's favorite song, and I changed it to Aces High because I'm stupid, but whatever. It's fine. All right. Track number 3, Lost for Words, written by Steve Harris. To date, this is the last instrumental from the band. I think that's interesting considering they were so good at them. I love how it doesn't sit on any one riff or any one section for too long. The pace keeps moving, and it's changing, which is done well, and it keeps us interested, where it's not like you're like, okay, next part. Nah, it doesn't even do that. A lot of great things going on. I actually love the beat that Nico lays down. It's fantastic. And like you listen to it, it keeps getting better. It keeps getting better. When you hear that initial riff again, you're like, okay, we're coming to an end. It's like, it's there. Every note is in the perfect place. Everything sounds, it's so crisp and so well planned out. And just like, Aces High, it's over so quickly. You're like, man, already? that could have gone on for another few minutes and I'd have been cool with that. But Lost for Words is a great instrumental. So, all right, Tim, anything to add?
A lot of bands, when they do instrumentals, they do this boring thing where they write a song and just don't put lyrics to it, and then add a couple of guitar solos in place of verses. And
right.
It's kind of boring. It's very predictable. I'm not going to give any examples because I'm not here to slam other bands right now.
Well, it's like a dagger to my heart. You just described exactly how I write all my music. So.
But then you got somebody like a Joe Satriani who basically does exactly that, but does it so well you don't care. And I think Iron Maiden kind of falls in that category, especially with this one. It's real easy to write a few riffs and kind of craft them into a song, but then you got to write some lyrics. You got to give it some kind of depth. You got to give it something that's interesting rather than just listening to these cool riffs 3 or 4 times repeated. Right. And that's where I think a lot of bands fall down on their face. They just they do this thing over and over again. Okay, that sounds like a song. We don't really have any lyrics for it. Hey, it's an instrumental.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything to add, Eric?
Well, that is kind of how they ended up with this. They wrote it and they couldn't come up with lyrics for it, so they just left it instrumental. But I think it's a really good instrumental. I agree with you, Nico. I think, really, to be fair, he shines on this entire album.
Yes.
He's fantastic on this album. A lot of cool riffs in it. If I'm Bruce, I'm not ruffling any feathers because these guys are perfectly fine with no vocals.
Right.
I love the tongue-in-cheek name of the song as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, cool. Track number 4, Flash of the Blade, written by Dickinson. Of course, lyrics inspired by Bruce's love of fencing. Eric, why don't you start us off?
Intro riff is proof that a riff doesn't have to be complicated or hard to play to be good.
Right.
And a lot of the bands I've loved over the years have had two guitar players, but not many blend and play off each other as well as Adrian and Dave do. They're, top of the heap when it comes to that, if you ask me.
Yeah. You can tell that those two have really spent a lot of time with each other playing.
Yeah.
And not just playing at the same time as each other, really listening to the other one and complimenting each other's parts.
Do either one of you have a preference of Adrian or Dave?
You know what? I've gone back. I've gone back and forth over the years, and honestly, to me, they're just a set. I think if it comes down to it, I think I prefer Adrian's songs. I know Murray doesn't write along, but I like Adrian's songwriting. But I think Murray's leads are a little bit more controlled. You know what I mean? I just think they're a little bit technical. I guess a better way to put it.
A little more refined.
Yeah. I mean, but together,
and constructed.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Dave a lot of times just goes hit record and I'm going to play whatever I play, and where I think Adrian probably sits down and works out what he's going to play. If you held a gun to my head, I think I'd have to take Adrian, but like you said, I think they're so good together.
And it's like, playing guitar harmonies is great, but these guys not only do that, but they just are able to figure out, well, I'm going to kind of do what you're doing, but I'm going to do something that still sounds good, but it complements, but it's not the same. And they're just so damn good. So anyway,
so just to be absolutely crystal clear here, no Jens fans?
Oh,
Yannick, what? I like him. I do. I mean, I do find it funny. I do like that when Bruce joined the band again, and they were like, well, what are we going to do about, Adrian coming back? And Steve just said, I've always wanted 3 guitars in a band. And like, well, of course you did. And that's another proof why they're awesome. They didn't fire the guy that replaced the other guy. They didn't, we'll just keep 3 guitar players. That's fine. So just saying, they could have let him go. They didn't.
It really does say something about their personalities that they all seem to still really get along and nobody's like fighting for their spot. Everybody just kind of does what they do.
Yeah. And especially all 3 of them bring their own style, and I think you can tell, and it works well together.
I threw that joke out there just as a joke, because everybody wants to talk about Dave and Adrian, and nobody ever talks about this other guy that's been there for how many years now. I mean, I guess it's not relevant on this album because he's not there yet.
He's been there 20 years now.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, that's.
He's clearly doing something right.
Right. All right. So Flash of the Blade. I love the double tracking that Bruce does with his vocals on the chorus. I mean, that's not uncommon. I mean, he does it quite often, but for whatever reason, especially with headphones, it just adds a really nice layer that just makes it even sound better, because we all know that Bruce has one of the most awesome voices in metal for sure. The solo section is very, very well arranged. I really enjoy it. And this is another example that everyone on the track really shines, and it's really cool. I love the production because each time you listen to it, you could actually go, I want to focus on them. I want to focus on this, on Dave. I want to focus on, Nico. And so they just do a really good job giving us something to listen to. And, you can just pick something out, or you listen to the thing as a whole and it works either way. So Flash of the Blade is a really good song. All right. Last song on side 1, The Duelists, written by Harris, inspired by the Ridley Scott film with the same name from 1977. Teasing an upcoming series for next year, we will be doing focusing on the year 1977, both film and album. So look forward to that.
Have you seen that movie?
Yes, a long time ago, but I'm going to watch it again for it's pretty good.
I learned about the movie, doing research for this album podcast, and I gotta admit that it's got me kind of wanting to look it up and watch it. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Ridley Scott, right after he right around the time he did Alien, and so it's good. It's worth your time. So all right, Tim, The Duelists.
This is actually probably my least favorite song on the album.
Interesting.
But that being said, you're really kind of splitting hairs because
That's true.
it certainly is far from bad.
Right.
Nothing about this song sucks. Like I said, when I rank the what is it, 9 songs on the album, this one probably comes in at number 9 for me. But it's still a good tune. It's a fun listen. That intro riff is really cool. Yeah, nothing bad to say about it. Just that I like the rest of the album better.
All right. That's fair. All right, Eric.
It's Maiden doing Maiden. Great music, long instrumental sections, and telling a tale.
Yeah.
It's what they do best. So, I dig it.
I really like the during the verse how the vocals kind of go up and then starts over with each line. It kind of works its way up and then works really really well into the chorus. So it's just so well arranged, and it's like you listen to stuff. I'm like going, you hear bands like now will do covers of stuff like from these guys and other bands, and you're like super impressed they can cover them, and you're like, well, they can play it. I said, yeah, but they didn't write it.
Right.
Just because you can play it doesn't mean you're good enough to write it. And
Yeah.
it takes, a lot of people can learn songs, learn how to play things, but to sit down and put those notes together and everything, that says a lot about them, and which is why they are Iron Maiden and we're not. So
well, and I think that's always the deciding factor in a lot of music, because you can scroll through Instagram and YouTube and see amazing musicians doing things that just break your brain to try and figure out how they accomplished it. But a lot of them are doing covers of Dream Theater and Iron Maiden and Paul Gilbert or somebody like that. And you have to remember that even the simple stuff, like simpler songs by like Van Halen and all, a lot of people can play them and a lot of people can do them note for note and sound exactly like the album, but they did not create that in the first place. They're not the spark that caused that awesome music to come out of nowhere and get recorded, and now everybody and their sister is on the internet trying to copy it. But we're not, I don't see a lot of that spark of creativity, that originality.
Right. Yeah, it's it impresses me. Like I remember thinking back into the 80s and early 90s, and you hear Neil Peart and you're like, he's amazing, and then Portnoy from Dream Theater, and every once in a while you hear these really really talented drummers. Well, now it just seems like there's so many really good drummers, but yet they're also still not writing the stuff. It's like they learned how to play the stuff. They sat down with the whatever, learned how to play it. I think the musicians we're getting better at learning how to play the stuff, but the ability to write good original material is where we're lacking as a culture. So I think just because you can play it doesn't mean you can write it, and I think it's painfully obvious in recent years. But anyway. down off my soapbox.
Don't get me started on
just down off my soapbox.
Modern music.
There's some, but it's not. You have to go look for it. But anyway, all right. Yeah. Side 2, Back in the Village, written by Smith and Dickinson. Great way to kick off side 2. The main riff conveys anxiety, aggression, and conflict while pulling you into the song and story. Written as a sequel to the song "The Prisoner" off the Number of the Beast. Every time I listen to this song, I picture a car chase in a movie. It feels like it could be used during a really awesome car chase or something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take it. I'm going to find a chase scene in a movie and put this audio over it and see it and just prove my point. But yeah,
if it works.
I'm sure it will. It feels like a car chase. It does feel like a car chase. So, but yeah, it's a solid way to kick off side 2. And, it's a good track, don't love it. But just like with Tim, it's kind of splitting hairs, everything can't be perfect, but it's definitely far from bad. It's still a great way.
I think it's a great riff, and the guitar in general is great. I do feel the chorus is a tad generic.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
The rest of the song is so good that I can kind of get past it.
Yeah. All right. Tim, anything to add about Back in the Village?
I don't feel quite as down on that one as you guys.
Okay.
One of my favorite Maiden tracks always was "The Prisoner,"
Yeah.
and so this being a sequel to that kind of tracks with the fact that it's the other half of my two that I was split on.
Really? All right.
Yes, yeah.
Never would have guessed that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me neither.
This one's
Fantastic.
it's one of those things where as I moved into my later years and really went back and delved more into Maiden, this one stuck out more than I remembered originally, and it grew on me.
All right. Very cool. All right. Title track, Powerslave, written by Dickinson. Eric, why don't you start us off?
An epic track. All,
Yeah.
all the parts and the sections just work so well together. I also love the way they drag the ending out a little bit on this one. I think Maiden is one of the few bands that end tracks on albums like the way other bands end their like live version of their songs.
Okay, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm here for that. But this one especially, because this one like ends like 2 or 3 times before it actually ends, which I think is kind of cool. But
Yeah.
just an epic track.
Fantastic. All right, Tim, anything to add?
I'm not as down on fade out endings as you are.
Just want to point out, no fade out endings. Just on this
is true.
album.
No,
Not a single one.
My point was that I don't hate fade out endings, but a lot of Eric was talking about, how a lot of bands end their songs live. I hate the way a lot of bands end their songs live because it really feels like everybody kind of grew up listening to Kiss Alive and Alive 2, and they thought, we got to do an ending like that. And no, you don't. Every song doesn't need the Black Diamond drawn out, going on for 40-minute endings. Just end the damn song. And Maiden shows you that it's really part of good songwriting to end the song a certain way.
Yeah.
And there, I feel like, the ending is as important a part of the arrangement and the structure of the song as any other part of the song.
Yep. So, yeah, it's an epic song for sure. I agree with Eric. It's a very moody song. The verses are very, very dark sounding. Will admit the backing harmonies keep the chorus from being a little too overbearingly sad, and depressing and but there's a nice balance. It's a good balance between contemplation, despair, acceptance, the whole, here we have, it's interesting because, Dickinson was in a kind of this, existential state where it's like, I go out on stage, I do all this stuff, and what does it mean? And so it's kind of was written as an allegory, here's this Pharaoh who is building this giant temple where he gets to go to die. And it's like, why,
Right.
It's like, what's the point? But it's so good. And it's such a great sounding song. And the guitar solo, man, that whole section with the guitar solo is both beautiful and angry. I love it. It's just so good. And I always forget, when I go through and I check the who wrote what, it still surprises me from time to time some of the songs that Dickinson wrote, because he admits he's not a great guitar player. I mean, he was a terrible drummer. He tried that for a while, it just didn't work, and he admits to it. But man, some of the, like, especially this album, the ones that he wrote,
he can craft a song.
Yes, he sure can. Absolutely.
And for as old as this album is, it sounds fantastic even now.
Yeah, it's timeless. Let's just put it that way. It's timeless. There's some people just, had it, and it doesn't. This one does not age. I mean, as much as I like Somewhere in Time, the guitars they were using for that one, the synthesizers, whatever, was a bit, of its time. So that one kind of still feels like it's there, but this one to me doesn't. So yeah, production, Martin Birch. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The final song on the album, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, written by Steve Harris. Tim, why don't you start us off?
Well, given that this is the last song on the album and you haven't said it for any of the other songs, I'd like to point out that me and Eric were both correct.
Yeah. I got to start trying harder to pick different songs.
No, man, you like what you like, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that we have been good friends long enough to know this about you. Like, yep,
Well,
yep. That's
it's not like it's a bad track either.
no,
True,
no,
yeah.
not by far. Yeah.
Right.
It's not like he likes that freaking track. Are you kidding me? No, there's none of that here. Yeah. And only Iron Maiden, I think, would have the sheer audacity to take something like a simple mythical tale, the cautionary tale, the myth of the albatross around your neck, which is a story that can be told in about 2 paragraphs. And they said, you know what? Let's make a 15-minute epic song out of this.
It's only like
just do it.
13.
Yeah, it's 13.
13, sorry.
Yeah, 13 minutes, 45 seconds.
Yeah, forgive me. That's practically a ditty.
Practically. Eric, anything to add about Rhyme and Ancient Mariner?
Just classic Maiden. It's got a big, long, epic song. It's got parts of it's got that Maiden
The gallop. Yep.
Yep.
Really good lead guitars. And some people, especially the three of us here, often will sing the praises of like Rush and how that's a band where every member is a virtuoso. And that's 100% accurate, when you're talking about Rush. But I got to say, Maiden's another band where the members are all friggin' awesome at what they do. And somehow it almost seems like they're kind of underrated in this weird way. It's like even I sometimes forget how much of an influence, they are on me and the music that I do. I put harmony guitars in a lot of my original stuff.
Right.
And it came from, Adrian and Dave for sure.
Yep. Yeah, it's like to Tim's point about a poem. It's this is an abridged version, so to speak, of the Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem of the same name. During the 2008-2009 Somewhere Back in Time tour, Murray, Dickinson, and Harris all cited that this was actually their favorite song to play on that tour. So, which I think is kind of fantastic. To point out that it is 13 minutes and 45 seconds long. Harris wastes no time getting us into the lyrics, like less than 30 seconds into the song. We already got our lyrics. Great opening riff. Everybody has their moment. I think this is Nico's best drum performance on the album. I just absolutely love everything he does on this one. One of Bruce's best screams is on here, like coming out of the middle section. It has a nice long scream with a little bit of a laugh at the end that takes us into the guitar solos. It's fantastic. The song's interesting and engrossing and moves at a good pace considering the length. When it slows, the mood and the music and the words of the poem keep us going. If someone who has never heard Maiden, I would suggest this song or Hallowed Be Thy Name as a perfect example of what they can do. The song gives us everything that Maiden does to perfection: guitar harmonies, the Maiden gallop that Eric mentioned, storytelling, smart lyrics, drums that perfectly complement the guitar and the bass. Not only is this song a perfect closer, it continues Maiden's pattern of the longest song closing the album. And it's just every time I listen to it, I just go, God damn, these guys are good. It's just, it's so good. And even though it's 13 minutes long, it still ends too soon. But whatever.
It's a surefire sign of a long song that's good is it doesn't feel long.
Right.
There are some songs that are too long. This one does 13 minutes, 45 seconds is a long song, but it doesn't, at least to me, it doesn't feel like a long song.
Right. Well, when we did the Ride the Lightning episode and we talked about Call of Cthulhu, we all kind of agreed, they could have gotten to the point sooner. That song didn't need to be that long. It's still a good song, but this one with 13 and a half minutes, I mean, man, it's such a great pace. There's distinct sections that it doesn't sound like they're playing the same thing over and over again for 13 minutes. So they prove it.
What a great live song too.
Yes.
It's
so
it good live. It's ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
A lot of bands, I think, in their being influenced by Iron Maiden, try to mimic Iron Maiden when they really have no business doing that. And you know, like you said, Ride the Lightning, when we were doing that episode, you were right. Yeah, they could have gotten to the point a lot sooner. I feel like that's a case of them saying, we're going to do our Maiden thing. No, you don't really need to do that. Let them be Maiden.
See,
You do Metallica.
Once again,
You
I
know?
feel like Tim's sticking a knife in me because I have done that.
Wow.
But you know what I mean? Like a lot of bands try to do that, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you're not Iron Maiden, so I feel like in the case of Iron Maiden, the individual members kind of make a sum that is greater than the whole, or a whole that is great. You know what I'm trying to say. They're bigger than it's smaller but bigger, and it's not as
Hey, I didn't come on here to do math. So.
They get mentioned as a band, as an
Yes.
influence, not necessarily as individuals.
individual members. Yeah.
I will say Steve always gets mentioned as far as bass, and I will
Steve
say
gets
that
mentioned. Dave and Adrian get mentioned in guitar. Occasionally I hear Nico and Bruce get mentioned for their roles, but it seems like a lot less often. But then when you talk about those top 10 greatest metal bands, Iron Maiden's always in there, real high in the pack. So, you know, it's definitely a case. Iron Maiden has that influence, whether you really think of the individual members as being that virtuoso level or not. But when those guys all come together and start playing, that virtuoso level definitely comes out. So yeah, they don't get name checked as often as they probably should, but Iron Maiden as a whole, definitely.
and I've heard so many different times from people that have toured with them that if you want to see one of the most consistent live bands ever, it's Iron Maiden. You know, so and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
What year was Live After Death? Was that like 85?
Yeah, it would have been for this tour, so it would have been 84, 85.
What? That's such a great live album. I know
Yeah,
people
it
always
is.
say like Frampton Comes Alive or Kiss Alive or whatever. Honestly, for me, man, give me Live After Death.
Oh yeah,
That's my favorite live album.
yeah. It's there. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And I just want to say this is the second best Iron Maiden album cover, as far as I'm concerned. Behind Somewhere in Time. And same reason, Somewhere in Time, I just love looking at all the little hits.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
So many things on that on that album cover. So many things. And when I was getting ready for that episode, for that video, I found so many pages that were literally like circling all the things and a giant list of all the stuff that's there. I'm just like, God, Riggs just outdid himself on that one. But my favorite bit on Powerslave is the hidden Mickey. I just love it. Being a Disney person, I'm like, there's a hidden Mickey on the friggin' album cover. I love that. So awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to final words and rating. 1 to 5 albums. Tim, anything to say, and what's your rating?
My rating, I'm gonna give this one. Yeah, this is a 5 for me. This is Maiden being Maiden and showing you why Maiden is awesome. Everything on here, even the one that I like the least, still pretty damn good. So,
right?
Yeah, there's nothing bad to say about this one.
All right, Eric.
Like I said, I think it's the best Maiden album. I would give it 6 albums. 6 out of 5. I mean,
right?
Albums are rare where there's not really a weak song. Like a Moving Pictures,
right?
Maybe like a Pyromania, something like that. This album is definitely one of those where I can listen to it front to back and flip it over and do it again.
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree. This album is perfect. It's a 5 out of 5. There's nothing to complain about. Even the ones that are like, to Tim's point, it's not as good, but it's still really, really good. Right. It's like, it's one of those things where even at their worst, they're still better than most of the other stuff out there. But anyway,
there's a lot of bands that would take 10 of Maiden's worst songs and release their best album
Yep.
Yeah.
with it. So.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. So that brings us to the end of this particular episode. Man, we'll have to maybe next season we'll do Peace of Mind, or somewhere in time. Peace of Mind I think we should discuss because it seems to get forgotten. And it's such a good album.
Eventually we should just do them all, probably.
Well, we will.
Yeah, that makes
We will. I have no problem with that. I've been listening a lot to Brave New World. I got the CD back in Christmas, and I've been listening to it a lot lately. And man, it's one of those sneaky, surprisingly good ones that you kind of forgot about, but it's really, really good. Anyway, all right. I'd like to take a minute to thank my guest this evening. Thank you very much, Tim. And I know you have all three of us currently have a YouTube channel, so I think that's fun.
Yes.
So Tim, do you have anything planned for your YouTube channel? I know my favorite is still you teaching yourself the violin. That was just.
I really should get back to the violin. I have not touched it in far, far too long. So I'm going to basically be starting over at the strangling a cat version of playing. So
that's my favorite. That's my favorite era of your playing.
I think you should
call the SPCA. He's
right,
killing that cat.
Nice. Oh, that's fun stuff. But yeah, check out Tim's YouTube channel. I will put a link to his channel in the show notes. And and Eric actually has two YouTube channels. He has one for his guitar videos and one for his photography. So what made you decide to do your photography one?
I did a video where I kind of introduced that channel, and I said it's the same reason I started a guitar channel. It's because I have all this gear, and it's gross how much money I blow on this crap. So I figured if I can show it off a little bit, and actually Wotancraft, the brand that I use, their shoulder bag is my favorite bag. They actually sent me some free stuff to show my video. And as of right now, I have 11 subscribers on that channel. So not sure if they did their research or not.
Hey, you know what? That's all right.
That. But yeah, I mean, if anybody's into cameras or anything like that, or, photography, it's just Eric Jason Brock Photography. And then, the guitar channel, the music channel, whatever you want to call it, it's just Eric Jason Brock. So, and then I will be releasing, whatever my next EP is. I think it might be 78 or 79. I lost count, but I usually try to release one around my birthday on the 10th of September. So there'll definitely be a new one coming out around then too.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, I'll put links for all the YouTube channels in the show notes for everybody to check them out. But yeah, you guys make the music episodes fun. So thank you for being here. And we're working on next seasons already. We're going to do another Kiss episode. We'll do another Iron Maiden episode. And like I said, we're going to travel to 1977. There's a lot of good albums that came out that year. So looking forward to that with these gentlemen here. So our listeners, reach out to us. Let us know what you think about Iron Maiden and Powerslave. How many, scale of 1 to 5. What are you going to give it? Jump on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky. And share the podcast on social media, rate and review it. If we see the review, we will share it on an episode. And if you want to help support the podcast in other ways, jump on over to our Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get exclusive content. Usually it's a specific episode for that month. Every once in a while, I'll drop a raw video or raw audio of an episode in advance of it being released. You can kind of get a sneak peek at that. It's a lot of fun over there. We can chat. Sometimes we even let you vote on an episode. So, hey, there you go. Also, as I mentioned, we do have the YouTube channel. Usually it's one of our 5 hosts doing a quick top 7. Recently, Robert did his top 7 coffee mugs, which was a lot of fun. And of course, I mentioned the top 7 Iron Maiden album covers, and Tim's top 7 Queen songs from soundtracks was a lot of fun. So we all take our turns and have some good stuff over there. And it's just something quick, 10-minute or less videos, something fun. I drop a lot of shorts over there too. So check it out, subscribe, and have fun over there. Upcoming episodes, September. It is Universal Monster Month. John and Robert are kind of hosting duties for that one. And good one. We have Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, and The Invisible Man. We're all being covered over there. And then for October, it's Zombie Movie Month, starting off with the original Night of the Living Dead and some modern zombie films as well. So It's gonna be fun couple months. So hopefully you can join us for those.
I just want to say I miss having my buddy John on this episode. So
don't worry, you guys have some top sevens coming up in the fall that you guys were on together. I think top 7 songs ruined by radio and MTV, and top 7 albums of the 2000s. So don't worry, we'll get the band back together. I promise. All right, do yourself a favor, listen to more music, and remember, physical media is better than streaming. The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson. Recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.